Hey, what's going on? Browning High Power Mark III review. I could have done this review a long time ago, but better late than never. I'm not going to go towards the end of the video. I'll maybe go over the history of it because it probably end up being too long and not everybody wants to hear about that. And because the final pistol John Browning was working with and the pistol you see here is not even really the same type of gun. I mean, there's some major differences in it, and but I'll do that at the end of the video. Now for the safety sallies, clear for you, put your mind at ease. And these have a magazine disconnect, which means without the magazine it won't fire, even though you should never trust that. That was one of the requirements by the French military, all that good stuff. I'll get into maybe some of that at the end of the video. I bought this back in 2008 for right around $600 with the shipping and FFL fees. You can see here, Browning Hopper. Now it's listed as new in the box, but it was actually made in '94, so it's kind of like unfired, basically our new old stock. You can see 520 and then 30 bucks, and when FFL fees put it right at $600. Now nowadays you can't really get them for more about for any less about $800 brand new for a brand new manufactured one, which is kind of a shame. It'd be nice if they had it priced a little more competitively with the Beretta 92 FS or M9, which I think they're selling for around 600, somewhere around there. Like, let's look here at this is the Complete Book of Handguns, 1984. This is the Beretta 92S. It sells for $515, and the Standard High Power sells for $535. I mean, look at that. You can see that there. That's 1984. Now let's go fast forward to 1987. The Beretta 92F lists for $685. You can see that. Whereas the High Power lists for $400 or $550 for most of them, or $450. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, I guess the reason for 1987 the Beretta being so damn high was because of the M9 being selected for the military, and then you have Lethal Weapon coming out, or freaking all that good shit. So, and this is the 2011 American Handgunner. You got that Beretta listed starting at $715 to $995. I think most of them sell for around $600. I think some even less than that. And then you got Browning over here, $999. So I've yet to see them under 800 bucks. Maybe $750 if you're lucky. But that kind of sucks. Is they got it so priced up almost like with SIG and stuff like that. But okay, now the standard capacity is 13 rounds. Well, they ain't much to look at now because you got most of them holding 18, 19. But for 1935, that was a big damn deal right there. I mean, most of them at that time holding around 7 to 8. I think maybe the Mauser broom handle held like 10, I think, and that was like the 7.65 or whatever the hell it was. But they make you can get some Metgar flush fitting 15 rounders, which puts it the same as the 226 and the Beretta, which they'll hold 18 flush fitting, or you can get some extended 20 rounders. If you don't buy any extended 20 rounders, make sure you go with Metgar. Don't go with any off brand or anything like that. And one of the reasons why I like the extended mags is, I mean, if the slide's not locked back, because the magazines mags will drop free. But if you lock the slide back and then try to do it, you get that. And then with these extended mags, you can pull it like that. Now I've gotten used to just using my finger, but it gives you something to grab and you can snatch them out of there real easy. I just use my little tab of my finger usually when I'm shooting it. Do it like that. Yeah, you can see the magazine safety there. I don't know if I went over it again, but also, now this gun was made in 94, and starting in 93, the way to tell them if they're made 93 or older or newer is looking at the bottom of the frame here. You notice these lines here? That means it's a cast frame, and they went with that because they wanted to introduce the side of chamber in the now popular 40 Smith & Wesson, and they found out that the forged frames were beating themselves up, so they figured they started making them both with just cast frames, and they held up. Now, not just the high power was the only one with this problem. Like the Beretta 96, they had a problem with the frames cracking in the front here. I think SIG, they had to switch from like their stamp slides and alloy frames to milled slides and stuff like that. I think even the almighty Glock, there was a problem with I think the back frame rails breaking on them, the 40 Smith & Wessons. That's a problem when you got a gun that's designed to shoot 9mm and then try to shoot a 40 Smith & Wesson. So it's, that's the way it goes. So not just the high power had a problem whenever they were first trying to introduce them with that for that new cartridge. I've never messed around with the 40 Smith & Wesson. It's never appealed to me that much. And also, and this is the June 1993 Guns article. They had the article on the 40 Smith & Wesson, also one by Masad Ayub, called the High Power Classic. See Masad Ayub, and it's got the tangent sights. That's what my first high power is. I'm not going to really go over the whole article, but there you go. Okay, and now this is the Mark III model. So it has sort of a matte black finish, kind of a baked on, painted on finish instead of like the blued. You have just a fixed 3-dot sights. I think you can get adjustable sights too. That's about the only options you got. That or the blued finish, and you get the plastic grips. I think the blue finish you get the wood style grips. And let me get this box out of the way. Set up well. I'm gonna do some dry firing here. Because of the dang magazine disconnect, it has a real heavy trigger pull. I'm going to show you right here. Because the magazine disconnect. Now you can get some with a light one. This thing on the frame here. Now the first one or two are usually a little heavier. I try to just make sure I'm holding the pistol where it's not moving. Pull straight back. You can see 9 pounds, 13 ounces. That's a freaking single action. Try it 2 more times. Got it center. 9 pounds, 7 ounces. Now I've gotten them usually under that, but see, averaging about 9.5 pounds, and that's a damn single action. And while the magazine disconnect is to blame, also the hammer spring on this is extremely heavy. I mean, you're not going to get a lot primer strike on this thing. I think it's rated at like 32 pounds, the mainspring or hammer spring. Now, I think they used to come with like a 26 pound, and that's probably really what they need. But I think maybe that keeps from battering the guns up, or maybe they use the 32 pound on the 40 Smith & Wesson also, and feel like being cheapskates and not, changing them out or something. I don't know, but it's heavy. That's one of the things makes it it really makes you work for it when you're trying to shoot it. As of right now, I got I want to say at least over 1,000 rounds, but probably less than 1,500 rounds through it. I shot it quite a bit the first 2 years I've had it, because that was probably one of my main 9mm pistols. I ended up getting like my SIG and a few others, so this one took kind of a back seat and ended up get shot as much. Last time I took this thing out, we put 200 rounds through it without a single failure. Even that 1,500 or 1,000 rounds I've put through it, I've yet to have a single failure out of this. Failure to feed, failure to eject, or anything like that. I mean, I haven't torture tested, thrown it in the dirt, or anything like that, but under normal shooting conditions, not a single problem. And that's mostly with just ball ammo. That's a lot of like Winchester white box, some George Arms reloads, and lately I've been shooting the Remington UMC with a nickel case. I really like the performance out of that. Some hollow points like Remington Golden Saber, like this, and also I think some Spear Gold Dot too. I think I usually go between one of them two. And also I think one of the magazines I had, you know, where if you try a couple different hollow points, you'll have a couple boxes with like just 3 or 4 left. I loaded up one magazine. It had several different types of hollow points in it, and it run all of them through it. I think it was like some Fiocchi in there too, and some like American Eagle stuff, and just all mix of junk ammo in there. And let's see what else. What time am I? Damn, 10 freaking minutes. Well, and now what makes the high power great is most people are gonna like is the grip on it. It has a very, I mean, even for a double stack, it's a extremely nice grip. I mean, I don't have large hands. Of course, it being single action, it's going to be an easy trigger pull, you know, not hard to reach or anything like that. Heavy pull, but it's an extremely comfortable pistol to hold in your hand. Very nice natural pointer. I mean, also another thing is a hammer bite here. I think some of the older ones, depending on how you hold it, if you got real meaty paws, there is a good chance you could end up getting hammer bite with it recoiling back and then pulling down. A lot of people will stub this spur hammer. I think it's even worse with the ring hammers. But let me go into the history of this thing. Let me get a sip of water. Also, some guy told me it's real unprofessional to drink during a review. I mean, none of my camera crews say anything like that. They don't say that's real inappropriate or I shouldn't do that. Of course, it's just me fucking sitting here, so who gives a shit? Alright. Now, what I mean by the pistol that Browning has found design and the one that you see here is totally not the same. You see here, this is pretty much what his final one looked like. I mean, you can see the front of the slide and a little bit on the frame here, but notice the ass end here. Now I'm going to read from, this is the 1911 First 100 Years by Patrick Sweeney. I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs, and it goes, I would maybe show, well, I would show it with the camera here, but I'm just going to read it off. In the early 1920s, John Moses Browning was working on a new pistol. Now, before we delve into it, we have to have a grasp of the pistol we now know as the high power P35. The pistol so many of us find to be a wonderful 9mm pistol is because the French Army wanted a lightweight, compact 9mm pistol that held enough ammo. That wasn't what Browning was working on his prototype. To keep the two separate, let's call the early one, the prototype, the P22. I guess the P22 because 1922 is about the time he was working on it. And the one we know is the P35. His prototype 9mm pistol was quite different in many regards. First of all, it was to hold 17 rounds, which is the same as the Glock 17. Yes, that's right, 17 rounds, 9mm pistol in the early 1920s. Also, the slide was designed with a breech block, very much like that of the Savage pistol at the time. They used interrupted threads. You can remove the breech block with a half turn. The slide of the P22 was even more racy than the current P35 and was made for a tangent rear slide. And here's I guess another prototype picture of one also with the slides a little bit different. Now maybe this is one Donde Saval was working on right here, one of his later ones, and he ended up changing that ass end up. But let me go read in some more. Okay. To take them in order of the most interesting, the Savage breech block is a self-contained unit that holds the striker, the hammer that is linked to the striker, and the sear. The trigger mechanism links to the breech block when the slide is closed. When the slide cycles, the breech block is removed from the trigger linkage, and the act of cycling as the disconnector does on a 1911. To disassemble the Savage and the Browning prototype, you unload, lock the slide back, and remove the magazine. Then pinch the hammer striker back to relieve the spring tension, and then give the assembly a half turn. You then pull it out the back of the slide. Then you use the slide stop to ease the slide forward and off the frame. And then he's talking about him as a gunsmith. As a gunsmith, I find this idea fascinating. As a self-contained unit, the hammer and sear parts are not subject to the you're probably getting tired of looking at that. Let's go back to this. Okay, as a gunsmith, I find the idea fascinating. As a self-contained unit, the hammer and sear parts are not subject to home gunsmithing, but as a sub-assembly, it also lends itself to precision manufacture. Once you've gotten the sear and hammer surface properly stoned or machined, they get assembled with perfectly fitted pins. Also, as a military or law enforcement environment, you can have a prepped trigger breech block assembly ready to go. Problem with the trigger? Pull on particular pistol, slap in a new breech block, and test. It solves the problem. Ship the old breech assembly back to the unit armor for service. For match shooting, you can have a special match trigger pull breech blocks to plug into service pistols. And making a match pistol is a lot simpler. You test rack a full of P22s to find the most accurate sample, then plug the match trigger pull breech blocks into them. Next up is the capacity. 17 rounds. Remember that in the early 1920s you have a feature so you can go with the 1911 7 shots 45 ACP, the Luger at 8 shots 9mm, and the C96 Mauser offered 10 shots of 7.63 Mauser. A pistol holding 17 rounds of parabellum would have swept the market. Of course, at 13 really ain't nothing to sneeze at, though. Alas, other projects took precedence, and the P-22 was unfinished at the time of Browning's death in 1926. Donde or Dude Savard took over the project when the French Army asked for test pistols in their ordnance tests. Savard dropped the removable breech block for a traditional design. He used a series of levers for the trigger linkers and set up a setup that is more difficult to tune, a crisp, clean trigger pull than that of the 1911. The French wanted a lightweight pistol. What they obviously wanted was all the ordnance buyers want: the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all on the cheap. So Savard changed the frame size and magazine capacity. He shortened the magazine to make the frame more compact. He also had to work on the shape and taper of the magazine to allow reliable feeding. For being a prototype, it may not have been all that reliable. Browning's. Okay, this brought the capacity down to 13 rounds. Also, in making the pistol light, he made the frame as compact as he can get away with. The P-22 design appears to be much more robust, big surprise considering his other designs, and Sauvé's changes while pleasing those who want to save a few ounces to shorten service life of the P-35. We met 17. I keep reading. Got a little bit more. Results was a compact, high-capacity 9mm pistol that was big in advance over anything else at the time, but one that was not nearly the pistol Browning started with. Sorry, Monsieur Sauvé. In not at all surprising turn of events, the French turned the pistol down. They walked away from the FN-made P-35 in favor of their own M1935 pistol, not just one but two models that did not have interchangeable parts chambered in the anemic 7.62 French long. So, anyway. He goes in a little bit more, but that's basically an idea. So this is really a Donde or Dude Savard design, pretty much. I mean, a lot of people call it John Browning's last design, but I really wouldn't consider it. I guess they do that as a kind of a selling point. And another thing, if you buy one that's marked Browning, it's made by Fabrique Nationale. I don't care what you say. That's who makes it. It's just a Browning marked. They've always made them. Browning itself is never. I don't think they've ever made any of their own guns. I think some of the rifles are made in Japan, I think. So, but also, this one is marked made in Belgium, assembled in Portugal. For a period there in the 1980s, you had a lot of them that were marked made in Belgium, but I think they were also assembled in Portugal at the same time. I'm not sure when they decided to start putting that on there, assembled in Portugal. But I mean, all the parts are made in Belgium, so who gives a shit? Who's put them together? But anyway, I think 18 minutes on this dang thing. Of course, my username is Browning High Power Fan, so whatever. 18 minutes is good enough for 19 minutes now. Well, if you are still watching, appreciate you watching. See you later. Now, I can always I may end up cutting all that history stuff on the ass end of it, but we'll see. Alright, see you later.